And welcome back to the show, Epic Tales from the Sewers, your favorite, hopefully, Ninja Turtles podcast with your two hosts, Justin and my co host, Eric.
How you doing there, Justin?
Good, man. Good. How's it going? Happy
It's a
New Year.
going. It's going. Happy New Year to everybody.
We got a
And
special show for everybody today. Go ahead. You were going to say something?
I was going to say, and we got a new guest, and a Happy New Year to him too.
Yep. Yep. Before we start everything, shout out to two of our friends of the show, Rob Denner and Aaron Bartling. Shout out. Happy birthday, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
So, But our guest today is he's worked on projects for some of the biggest characters in all of comics, from Spider-Man, the Hulk, the Exiles, Wolverine, Space Knight, Venom, Xenomorphs from Marvel's Aliens, Nightwing, Detective Comics, Justice League Unlimited, and Batman. And if that's not enough, if that's not impressive enough, he worked on the sequel to the Hellboy story, The Crooked Man, called The Return of Effie Kolb. So, but listeners may know Zach's work from a story, TMNT one shot that was recently collected in the IDW Dark Leo collection called TMNT Deviations, aka the Dark Turtles. That's what you're all here for, I'm sure. He has a new project coming out that's really exciting called Moonshine Bigfoot, which we're going to talk about. So, I want to welcome our guest, Mr. Zach Howard.
Hello, Happy New Year to both you, Justin, Eric. Thank
you.
you for having me on the show and being patient with me.
No
Getting,
worries.
I was fashionably late, but you're very patient. And right on cue, my camera went blurry, so perfect.
That's okay.
So,
That's just cataracts. No, it's good.
Your hair looks nice. You're good.
well, hey, I did it. It was the palm trick. But thank you for the lovely intro. I forget half the crap I've done. And I've done weird stuff like Prince of Power, some weird offshoot of Thor, I believe, if I remember correctly, and things like that. So
It's such a
uh,
storied career too. Like you've been doing this since what, 2002?
yeah. That's when I went pro as a comic book artist. I think it was that summer I got the Hellboy resource manual. Prior to that, I graduated college in 2000, and I was a potter and finished my thesis, all that fun stuff. But I had no clue how to get a job as a comic book artist. So my professor said just apply to gaming manuals. So I looked up the addresses of 20 companies. I printed my crap out, mailed it to them, and two got back and one hired me, and that was Steve Jackson Games.
No
And
kidding.
they were very nice to me. They paid me to learn how to be a professional illustrator, and because I didn't, really pursue that, it kind of fell onto my lap, to pursue comic books, my thesis year of college. So anyhow, yeah, and 2.5 years later, I think Mignola chose me out of the stable of artists to draw the comic book in the resource manual. And then next thing I knew, I suddenly was a legitimate comic book artist. Image published, it was Heaven's Devils, a book I was working on the side, trying to get into comics. And that's a testament. People, if you can't get hired, just do it anyways.
Yep.
And suddenly I had 2 image books from 0 to 60 pretty quickly, and then I was doing Batman a year later. So
Wow.
just keep going. And then I've done everything after that. Shaun of the Dead, I did that book before the movie was made, but they were afraid that it would flop in America, so they had IDW Chris Ryle. That was Chris Ryle's first comic book. And I basically ushered him, and we turned that into, that was in print for 14 years. So we're pretty proud of that. So yeah, if you haven't noticed, I get bored easy, so I just bounce around. So and the Aliens was for Dark Horse. It was the 30th anniversary of the movie Alien, I believe.
So technically, I think they used one of your covers or something in the Marvel book, or because you're mentioned on the Marvel site for Aliens.
Well, they sent me one comp. It's Aliens book, big enough you could beat a puma to death with it.
Oh wow!
So palm trick again. Yeah. I haven't even opened it up It's all sealed and it's gorgeous. It'll just be a nice coffee table book, I think. So that's a hard project, man. It was a lot of secret stuff and getting designs late and drawing my butt off and scripts coming in late. And but I'm glad, at least it did well, and I think it was received well too. In the end.
Now, the cool thing about this is that I had reached out to you maybe like 1 or 2 weeks ago or something like that. I end up going over my friend's house, and he had asked me, "Oh, can you help me move a couch or something?" And I look on his wall, and what do I see? He has one of your prints. He has Hellboy versus the Frog Monster.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like, "Oh my God, this is the craziest thing!" So. And I was telling Eric a little bit. I'm like, yeah, I met Zach at C2E2.
There you
I
go.
got him to sign this Dark Leo print and all that. He likes this one better, but yeah, the black and white.
I love black and white.
The man after my own heart. Then I do comment. I mean, I love Nelson Daniel, and we've had it's been 15 years now since the Cape. That was our first time. Before then, we were doing G.I. Joe covers together, I think, for a run.
Was that for Devil's Brew?
No, that was for IDW when they first got it.
Oh, okay.
I think they're doing Chucky, and it was actually a fun book. I was doing covers for that, and then sounds like somebody's home. That might be Claire Meath, actually, driving from Minnesota, just getting home.
Oh wow.
Anywho's, sorry, lost my train of thought there. Where was I, guys?
Talking about G.I. Joe covers.
Sorry. Death of Cobra Commander. I was working on a DC book that didn't get published, but it was still one of the funniest books I ever did. It was a one-shot of King Shark back when Secret Six was popular. But by the time it was slated to be published, Jim Lee was doing New 52, so they just fucking axed everything. So, sorry.
That was Dan. That was
good.
Dan
You're
DiDio
good.
that did it, I thought.
Okay, so wow, I should post that artwork. It was an absolutely Aubrey Sitterson's first, I think, mainstream work.
Why wouldn't they?
That might be Claire Meath here is going to come running around the corner with Riddle. Oh my gosh, Riddle, I haven't seen you in days. We're on a podcast, by the way. Say hi.
Sorry.
Hi, yeah, your friend is back. Okay. Glad you're back, Clark. Okay. Sorry. Drama. Welcome to my jet set lifestyle here in the basement of Zach Howard. It's dogs think I'm a superstar. Anyways, right after that gig or during it, DC gave me a break I got picked to do the Death of Cobra Commander, which was the first time they were killing Cobra Commander, and I was in USA Today, that fine publication, and it was pretty cool. I did 9 covers. Nobody knew who killed Cobra Commander, so they're all holding Cobra Commander's severed head. Regardless, yeah, I get bored. I bounce around.
Do you know who did it? Who actually had killed him at that point?
I think they were stretching it out. I can't remember who did in the end. It may have been Destro, but the cover. The cover that was most famous that I did was of the Baroness, and I still see that popping up a lot. That one, at least. So
that's so cool.
You're
a really well-versed artist. You've gotten to work on a lot of characters. I wanted to get into your history with comics. You talked a little bit about college and being a potter, and then kind of how you got into it. What's your history with comic books, growing up and all that?
Yes, my formative years, at least for comic books, elementary, did a lot overseas in Karlsruhe, Germany, which was kind of a remote army base, and you didn't have access to anything except the Conan magazine.
Yeah,
so I got that and D&D books, with all the cool art and everything. But I get, I was in Europe. Occasionally, I could get 2000 AD, heavy metal, things like that. That's a little much for a 10-year-old. But those were the comics I mostly got. Like every once in a while, we went to the town of Frankfurt. I forget the base there. Is the big base, but at the shopette there, you could get like a 3-pack of like Marvel, and you would get like Scarlet Witch versus, I don't know, the Bog Monster, and then it'd be X-Men, and then a Spider-Man book or something like. It's just a crapshoot. So I didn't have a lot of comics. Well, then my mom gave away, I think, all those. So all my original, I had like 20 original run of Conan magazines and stuff like that, which I miss. But then I didn't have comics forever. I was always into sports and surfing and things like that. And I was sick. And this is when I was living in Hawaii. And like a buddy came over after school, and it was, he brought over, I think it was X-Men 251, I want to say, where Wolverine's crucified.
Yep, the Mark Silvestri cover. Yep.
Yeah, blew my mind. I was as sick as a dog, and he's like, "Oh, this is great. Read it," and just threw it at me, and it just blew my mind. And kind of, it lit a fire in me. And then I went and took all my money that I was buying on surfboards from a paper delivery boy, and I just bought comics. Wow. And I had all these huge bins, and I became a humongous collector. I worked kind of for free comics by bagging at the local, comic book shop and learning all the histories. I had all these runs of X-Men, and McFarlane was red hot at the time. Jim Lee was just starting up. It was amazing. It's like, I want to say like 89 or something like that, or
yeah,
9.
I think so. Because that's right about when that Silvestri run was at its height. You got the Outback X-Men era.
Yeah. The Outback X-Men. I loved them when they were there, man. Just chill. The Reavers would come in and they'd just beat the living snot out of them. And there's a great issue where they come to town and the X-Men take care of shop, if I remember correctly. Or Jubilee saves the first story where Jubilee, I think, kind of became the hero. So,
so
old school X-Men history, I'm decent at. But anyways, my junior year of high school, we moved from Hawaii to Omaha, Nebraska, and they stole every single comic book that I had.
No.
But being the dork that I was, I had weird stuff, man, like a signed Bill Sienkiewicz, Elektra Assassin #1, just cool stuff. Of course, I was a McFarlane freak at the time, so I had the Hulk, Wolverine issues and the first Venom, and all those things like that you can't really. It's hard to replace. So those were all stolen, but I kept on my computer, or the family computer. I literally kept a list organized to every issue I had. So the insurance company paid me half of what the comics book journal said. So I never met the comic crash. All my shit got stolen, and they gave me that money, and it was like $7,000 or something like that. Man. So yeah, I had a nice payday from that. I kept collecting, but I never had that verve like I did before, because all that work and all those years of collecting this and that.
So did you use that to buy your car?
Well, yes, actually, I did. That was part of it. I bought some skis and got into skiing and stuff, and snowboarding, and I bought that. It hadn't been running in 14 years, so it was pretty cheap, if I remember correctly.
We were talking about this before we recorded. So Moonshine Bigfoot, when we get to it, is about a Bigfoot in a car. And it's
the Mustang.
Muscle car. So you had a Mustang. What year was that?
It was a 67, and I did that my senior year of high school in Nebraska, and learned how to fix a car. I couldn't fix everything. Like, there's certain engine things I had to hire a mechanic for, but then just worked on that. Drove it around, went to college, failed college, went to the Marines. And when I got out of the Marines, I'd been out of comics for so long. When I got out of the Marines, I got medically discharged. I didn't really have a plan or anything. And eventually I made it back to college and was working construction. and I registered too late, and I wanted to take drawing and all these things like that. All those classes were full. All I could take in the art department was pottery.
Wow.
And next thing I know, several years later, I have several degrees in it. So it's which I'm asked about all the time.
Well, I mean, you would get along great with Peter Laird.
Oh, well, that would be cool. I've met Kevin Eastman multiple times, but never Peter. So that would be pretty cool because TMNT
pottery guy, yeah,
even had a early issue 1 of TMNT. It was like 3rd printing, I think, or something. Pretty good because they had like 14 printings or something ridiculous. That was the book I learned about print editions on. Actually, was
yeah,
number 1.
So the differences in in the issues and all that. Eric, I think you have a really good run on that, right? Your TMNT number 1.
Yeah, I actually have a second print. It's actually signed by Eastman himself. It's a 6.5.
Nice.
He has
second print.
Yeah, it has like 4 turtle heads on it too, as well.
Wow, that's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome. My favorite books ever of TMNT are the collection of the original run colored, where they're the oversized ones.
Oh yeah.
I think there's 4 volumes. I forgot who published them. Was it like Malibu or some horse crap like that?
I love that you mentioned Malibu among all this because that was totally in that era where you were collecting. It literally just went away when you went to college because Marvel bought them.
Yeah,
so
they're infamous.
Their coloring. And never see the light of day of like Prime and Nth Man and but like Rune. I think
Rune was good.
Rune was great.
Yeah, there's a few good gems in there.
Yeah.
But
I like that you brought that up. It's like all the old magic. So it's like
well, I'm an old man, so I just love 80s comic books, man. They're just, I mean, that's when you had the British invasion. That's when Batman was changed forever. That's when, I mean, all my favorite stuff happened in the 80s. I would say if I could choose one decade where comics just lit my world up, it'd be 80s comics.
And that's something that's interesting about your art style too, because I mean, you talked about having Conan and having heavy metal and all that. I mean, you were the successor to Richard Corbin. Richard Corbin is, TMNT royalty. Having done the books that he did in the original era. I mean, is Corbin someone that you would consider a like an influence on you? Because I can see the Silvestri, I can see the Todd McFarlane. I can.
Oh, interesting. You see Todd and me. Silvestri, I more was enamored with his ability of how quick he could gesture out these characters and these powerful poses and dramatic this and that. It's arguable who's the best type of inker for him, from his modern style to Green that did it mostly on his X-Men run.
Yep.
And there's a few wild cards in there too. And a hidden gem in that run, Rick Leonardi being inked by Al Williamson, which eventually became Spider-Man 2099 team. But holy, they cut their teeth on X-Men, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean with that, I mean that became one of the biggest characters 2 years ago out of nowhere. So like stuff comes around.
Well, the design, Rick Leonardi, holy crap. Talk about just pulling something. I mean, where did you come? I mean, that's one of the best designs I remember ever seeing. Where I think I was at a truck stop getting gas when I saw issue number 1, and I'm like, what the hell am I looking at? That's how popular comics were. They're being sold in a effing gas station.
Yeah.
So I bought it, and I was like, what? I mean, this just blew me away, man. The first, I'd say, about 10 issues or so of that were just absolute fire.
I was a big Doom 2099 guy for like the 7-issue or the 8-issue run that had.
That was one of the better ones. There's a few, we all know of the stinkers, but there's a handful of good books.
Ravage 2099, which is probably better than Punisher and Ghost Rider.
The Punisher, man. Man, Well, Coke was good in 1990 or whenever the hell this happened. I guess that's a testament to. So a lot of those things. Anyhow,
Did you get to work with Corbin at all? Like, did you get to?
no,
No?
he was kind of sick. So influences. No, he was never a direct influence. Silvestri wasn't. He was more abstractly an influence in me, maybe a little bit in the storytelling or the desire to show powerful moments correctly, because I think he's really, really good at that. But my influences, even from, I'd say initially were Arthur Adams and then Jim Lee. And you can kind of, I'm probably not anymore, but for a lot of my career, you could see the Arthur Adams hands that I had, like where there we go. This is what Arthur Adams does with his hands a lot. I stole that from him.
I see a lot of Arthur Adams in your like your detailing, like the lines that you use for cross hatching and stuff like that. Like I see a lot of that. That's why
Arthur Adams inked by Terry Austin, probably to be precise.
Well, it's interesting that you said that you worked with Nick Bradshaw too, who is like the second coming of.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah. We didn't like. I was just doing covers before I jumped off to doing animation. Mike Martz was very nice about that to let me go. But I was pretty stoked to do Wolverine, man. You know, the little kid in you comes out. I'm mostly known as an indie guy now, or a guy that owns his own IPs, but every once in a while, I'll dip my toes in an IP, just i.e. TMNT, just to tickle that funny bone, man. That kid in you comes out. You know, when you're a little bit of Spider-Man. That's why you see me kind of do one or two things of every character.
Yeah.
Just so I can, you know, I just recently did a few Flash Gordon covers. Literally just so I could say I did a few Flash Gordon covers. You know, like that movie just blew me up as a kid, man.
I love that. Yeah, so Ryan Blessed in that was so great.
Every aspect of it, it was chaos. You know, making it, Dino De Laurentiis would come in all coked out, screaming at everybody and firing people and rewriting scripts. And Sam Jones is in there that's too good for everybody, and he's playing the dumbest character ever. And it was just chaos and beauty. And there was some magic that kind of happened in that. The screenplay was tight. It was so tight. There's no fat on the bone.
You know,
it was just like somebody was just channeling the universe to make that movie. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Sometimes things go so wrong, they go 360s back to home run again or something like that. They just kind of go back to very right. So I think that was one of the movies in history that did.
So how did you get connected then with Mike Mignola? Because you had said something about how you ended up doing the Hellboy source book or something along those lines.
Yeah, the resource manual, which was the first Hellboy game with the GURPS gaming system.
Okay.
I did spot illustration with I think he might be Dutch, a guy named Peter Bergting, and I did all the artwork for the book. And I did the comic book, which was like a 5-pager.
That's long for a Hellboy book, actually. 5 pages?
Yeah. But it was really cool. I think I had a pinup in Sugar Buzz published, and I had no comic book experience or anything like that. So that was huge for me. And I think I have one resource manual left. I'll have to look at the artwork because I don't think I have the files anymore. And that just led to other work. Mike's kind of was aloof during that process. I did signings with him, and he's very nice to me. I bought him a cheeseburger because his line was too long and a cup of coffee, and he gave me 2 original pieces of Mike Mignola artwork, both Abe and Hellboy. You know, so yeah, I got him. I got him over there. They'll be hanging up in my new studio. One of my prized possessions. But for the most part, he's pretty aloof and outside of anything except exactly what he's doing. And I was too nervous to really do too much. But I had fun. I signed with him and Ryan Sook, I believe, for Hellboy, because Ryan Sook was one of the first, like, actual. Technically, I was like the 3rd Hellboy artist ever, I think, after Ryan Sook being the 3rd. Matt Smith being the first, I believe.
Oh, with Matt Smith? Okay.
he
'Cause when did
ghosted.
Dave Stewart take over? Yeah.
Well, Matt Smith faked being Mignola for the first Lobster Johnson story.
Yeah.
And I think Mike inked it, maybe. I can't, it's been a long time and I'm very old. Anyhow, yeah, I just moved on. I just kind of, I'm a floating leaf for most of my career. And honestly, the superhero stuff, like I can't do monthlies and stuff. Like, oh my gosh, is Nightwing tense again at the end of this issue? You know, and I did Nightwing 99 and he's crying in bed and Alfred's yelling at him. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? Drawing Nightwing in his underwear for an issue. Who is this for? And that was a defining moment in my DC.
You know who it's for.
Sorry.
Everyone.
Yeah.
That's who it's for. I wonder if that's the page that a furry bought for me in a furry outfit. So no, that was an Aliens page. Sorry.
Nightwing is like one of the best-selling comics right now. I mean, like the Tom Taylor run and all that. Like it's consistently up there.
Well, good. Not the one I drew. Look it up. Nightwing 99, I think it was. It was bad. I think Sean Murphy is living in my house at the time. He may have drawn a panel or two or penciled a panel or two in there.
He's done okay for himself, huh? Yeah.
Where did he go? Did he disappear?
Yeah, he's done all right, you know.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Glad to hear things worked out. Scraping by.
Yeah.
So
Batman, the White Knight, and all that, which is
Batman. Well, good.
He just did the Turtles cover, and it's nearly impossible to find because there's only like 400 in print. So
yeah, that's they do that. My best cover I did of TMNT, I think there's only 1,000 of them. So the who is it? Michael. That's it, right? No, that's my Deviations. That's a good cover. I was really happy with that one. It was Mikey in the Rain, Michelangelo in the Rain. It was my
the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive.
Yeah. So I always feel bad. I have one of those left. Like somebody told me they're like $130, which is embarrassing. Just print more, please. So I made prints. So
put them in something, like
something. I hate when things are purposely made rare, and I understand collectorism's part of it, but it's. I always feel bad when I sign one of those because I'm like, shit, what'd you pay for that? But oh well.
I have like 1,000 more Hellboy questions, but I mean, this is.
No, we'll do Hellboy real quick. So. Yes. I knew Mike wasn't like thrilled with the work I did in there. I don't think he was mad, but I was just nothing. It was my first pro gig. And anyhow, cut to, I think it was like right as COVID started. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I just sold my entertainment company, which had Wild Blue Yonder and Buck and all these IPs I'd worked on forever. Didn't know what I was gonna do. And lo and behold, Mike Mignola contacts me and told me Corbin's a little too old to do a sequel, but his favorite book ever that he ever did of Hellboy was The Crooked Man. I was like, oh, well, yeah, that's a good one. Really enjoyed it. Corbin's cool. Sorry, he's too old. And I guess he's a Joe Hill fan, so he saw my Cape Fallen. And he said, when I was reading your book, the trees inspired us suddenly. The Crooked Man sequel came to him, so he wants me to draw it.
Wow.
I wasn't going to draw another book for another human being. I was only going to do my own books at that time. But I just asked him if he was going to write it, and he said yes. So that's cool. We designed some characters together, and that was the Return of Effie Kolb. I did that during COVID, which kind of sucked because both issues sold out, and in COVID, Dark Horse didn't do reprints. They just stopped printing comics. So it actually became pretty rare. Yet another book I couldn't effing get in people's hands. And eventually they made 2 collections.
Yes.
And I think a third one is being made. So, but they finally have, it took several years, but they finally have both stories together. And that's the newest Hellboy collection that has
Yeah,
the Crooked Man, and then Return of Effie
2024.
Kolb. That's it right there.
Yep, I picked one up. So I have the one that I got from you that's signed and all that. So and
Ah,
it has the
yes.
story, but this one had both of them in it. So
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. It's a good read. It was an honor to. I drew my butt off on that one. I don't like second place, so I really tried to harness. I studied hard.
yeah,
Got all my Corbin stuff out. I tried to bring all that back because Mike wanted it to kind of feel the same. But then my favorite Hellboy ever was '90s Hellboy, and I think the best Hellboy of all Hellboys is somewhere around Wolves of St.
that's
Augustine.
my favorite. That and the
And-
corpse. Yeah,
There you go. So I brought that kind of weight that Hellboy had, top heavyweight. I loved it. The one that really inspired me to be a comic book artist. Mixed that with a little Corbin and then a little My Stink. And people seemed to like it. And I was very honored to be part of it. And,
I tell you, man, there's
know.
that one line, and I mean, if I can remember this on my deathbed and just say, "At least I didn't die a horse," you know, that's a deep cut for anyone who's read, this. But I mean, it's literally like one of the last lines in the book, but it's awesome.
It's a good story I got to work on. I mean, it was a lot of fun working with Mike. He was doing a lot of things at the time. He was, I think while I was working on the second issue, they were writing the screenplay for the Crooked Man movie.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's kind of interesting. I doubt there'll ever be a sequel, but if there is, we'll get to see the characters I designed with Mike. And that was a lot of fun. Mike let me control a few things. He would design a few things, and then I would take it and use his stuff. He drew one thumbnail in the book, which was really cool. He had a vision of Hellboy falling into the monster's mouth. So when he's falling in the mouth,
okay,
that's Mike Mignola's one thumbnail that he did for the whole book. Though he designed Effie Kolb as a monster, the big monster pops out of the earth. And he had me do the Gator Dog and Sarah and the teacher, and basically all the characters you see in it. So
that's really cool.
And he wanted to change Effie Kolb. I never asked him why, but he wanted. That's why she's a lot skinnier in this and kind of withered and.
I could see why she's withered. So, but it's a thing. So I've got to bring up the TMNT Deviations book. I'm sure that's what all our listeners are excited about. So how did this come about? How did you end up with this project?
I finished Blue Yonder, and the Blue Yonder team was. I told them I'd just do a one shot at IDW, just do something on the side. I've been grinding on Blue Yonder for years of my life. At that point, I just wanted to do something I didn't have to think hard.
There you go.
And then, unfortunately, as the person in charge of the project moved it along, he wanted to write it. So Mike Rach got phased out, and then they told me they didn't have. As I was already drawing it, they told me they didn't have money to hire Nelson Daniel, so they had the poor colorist. They hired the normal young lady that does it, who's awesome. She only had like 10 days to do the whole book.
Wow.
So I was sad it wasn't what it could have been. That being said, it's still really cool to be part of it. And I got the design. Leo had already been designed, so I had to make armor for all the other TMNT to make it kind of look like that armor, but I wanted to make them all different. Like if you look at that cover you brought up, they're all slightly different.
Yeah.
So, and then they eventually kind of took that and he went with it. So, and then eventually did Ronin and stuff like that. But I'd already pretty much left IDW for good at that point. However, I'm coming back. I'm doing a cover this weekend for IDW I can't talk about, but there's a reason I came back to do the cover. Nice. So,
let me you got a question?
Oh, I was just. Are you going to be drawing more turtles in the futures?
If it's not with IDW, yes. I'm pretty popular with the turtles. I'm very fortunate with that. Still my most highly requested commission. I would say that and Hellboy are the two things I draw damn near every show. But no, I mean, unfortunately, I'm probably not going to work for IDW anymore. I've severed those ties.
It happens. It's not a problem.
It's okay. But that being said, nothing but honored for Turtles. If they go somewhere else, hopefully Kirkman or somebody gets them out. You'll see me there. If somebody cool gets the IP. So
you'd mentioned that there was already the Leo armor and all that. You got to help design those. Walk us through. Is there anything special about like these various turtles? Because we've got people who are like, oh man, I love Dark Wrath. Is there anything like do you have any Easter eggs on there? Is there something special that you did? Like, oh, I removed the pauldrons or something so he could have like more range of motion. Like what's special about the Wrath design, if you remember anything?
Well, I think I wanted Raph to have a little bit more, like on mine, I think is either him or Mikey. I took off, they only have one shoulder piece of armor. And I think I was like rationalizing they got to reach over and they got to be a lot more acrobatic than, say, somebody wielding a sword or something like that. So,
okay, so that's,
and also a lot of it's just variance because I get bored really easy. So like I hate symmetry. I think I like faux symmetry, so something that looks symmetrical, but or is close enough that it's easy on the eye, but it's still original. You can have one big shoulder pad. You can have a thing like Judge Dredd's zipper or something. Just break up that symmetry, and that's basically what I was trying to do. In each character, I tried to make the armor a little bit, Leo's is a little bit more official. When you get to Raph, it's a little bit dinged up and stuff because he's in there basically chewing on people's legs. So I mostly thought about it from a character point of view, but I'll be honest, I wasn't thinking dynamically a lot about weaponry. When I do design characters, I can't stand when you see things like when Rob Liefeld had all those pouches on guys' legs.
Yep.
It'd be on the inside of the leg. I'm like, how do you run if you have a pouch on the inside of your leg, and things like that? Since childhood, used to bug the living snot out of me. So my goal as a designer, when I design characters, and I take it very seriously, looking cool is great. It's more important that it looks like it can work. When I drew Wild Blue Yonder, I don't know if those planes can fly that I designed, but I want them to look like they do. They can't look like they're magically floating. They got to look like they still aeronautically work. So with the turtles, there's some design, like they're long, like I ripped up their bandana threads a lot because I always like them all ratty because they're jumping around in the rain and they're getting caught on rain gutters and crap, and they're getting shredded. If anything would get shredded, you've seen knuckleheads that put like flags on their cars. Eventually, it's just becomes shredded. It's out in the elements. So I like things like that. But then I don't worry quite as much about functionality in the sense that's a part that looks cool. You wouldn't want that functionally in real life if you were jumping around buildings and swinging weapons. You wouldn't want this wet piece of cloth slapping you in the face and wrapping around your arm and crap like that. So it's like a harmony of making things functionally look like they work versus looking cool. And that's kind of where I fall in almost all my design work. Except to get the Hellboy, the Gator Dog was kind of based on a cane corso and an alligator coming together, blah, blah, blah. So I went really dorky with that. But then when you get the Mike Mignola's monster, it's because Mike wanted to make it look like that. Okay. So, which, of course, it's Mike. It looks cool. So I'll make it look cool. So you have to be willing to play ball, especially when you're working with other creators, because they have different sensibilities.
I really like what you did with Donnie's scarf, how it's almost like a turtleneck that he's almost like kind of hiding in.
Yeah.
It seems like to speak a lot to his personality too. Where I'm like, oh, that was such an inspired choice.
Oh, thanks, man. I wanted them to kind of almost be hiding their characters behind the mask. They aren't brave and bold anymore. They're doing sinister stuff. So yeah, you kind of hide the face a little. like the Shadow, and because they're going to be in the shadows, and a lot of this book took place in an alleyway and things like that. So you just push things. What would even make them feel more disconnected and what would be more disheartening for the people that love, like Michelangelo and things like that? And he walks up and he knocks Splinter unconscious with his nunchucks. So it's a lot of just playing as a storyteller. How can I push element X, their sinisterness? They've fallen, and now they're as far away from where they were as they could possibly be at this moment. So,
and the cool thing about this is that this book has found new life in that Dark Leonardo collection that came out about a month and a half ago. So
I didn't even know about it. That's awesome.
Yeah. So you've got the Dark Leo stuff. They've got issues 25 and 29 in there, and the Deviations book.
Awesome.
So now our listeners, like, you can go out and you can find the book, besides getting it on the secondary market on eBay or anything else like that.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so you're gonna have a lot more commissions coming through too. They'll be like, "Oh, you signed this book," and you're like, "What the hell's this?" Oh, it's the best of Dark Leo, and the entire story in entirety is in the back.
I'll be looking forward to it. That's wonderful to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, so hopefully a little more money in the pocket there. So
yeah, we'll see. Well, not from IDW. I don't think I'm gonna.
Yeah, maybe not.
I didn't even get a comp. Put it that way.
Not the first time we've heard that.
That's comics. I think I got like 2 Marvel comps, and I've done a bunch of Marvel work. So, anyways, TMNT had a lot of fun.
Did you get to work on the Kickstarter at all, like the Deviations Kickstarter? Because they used your artwork for the comic, the little one. So I don't know if this one.
No, I know nothing about it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh man.
Well, the cool thing about this is it was an
IDW. Yeah, never mind. I'm honored that they use it and people see my artwork. I'm very honored.
And all the.
Oh my gosh, how cool is that?
So
I haven't seen any of this stuff, man.
I'll have to share some pictures so you can see it. So I can't believe you haven't even seen it. It's literally your artwork.
I live in my own world, dude. I draw the weirdest comic book on earth every day because I'm behind and working on a side project movie that I can't talk about yet.
Oh, okay.
And then I hear people speak of the sun, and it must be nice. They say it feels warm and stuff. And
it's snowing
nice.
here.
So you're a vampire, is what you're saying?
Troglodyte is probably a better phrase. But that other comic book artists know that. So that's why I'm moving to the mountains. My new studio will be up staring at mountains, but I got to get through this damn project. And I still have 30 pages, so at least. So
speaking of this new project, speaking of, we got to talk about this a little bit too. Moonshine Bigfoot, which is a independent-owned, creator-owned comic Kickstarter. When I met you at C2E2, this was the big thing. You were talking about this. It was awesome because, like you said, you had a great booth. And the cool thing about it, you said, if you sign up for this Kickstarter, we'll give you an original piece of artwork, and you can choose what you want on it. I naturally chose a Hellboy because it's amazing. So, but I mean, this is a great character. We got a chance to each read the first issue of the book. It is so much damn fun. And this is a really exciting book, man. Like,
oh, thank you.
How did this come about? Can you tell us the impetus of Moonshine Bigfoot here?
Sure. So this was during. It came about during, I think, near the end of COVID. I had a CBD company for a while, mostly pet CBDs, and I was in Vegas for a CBD show. And I have an actor friend that was actually my wholesale manager for my CBD company. Anyways, we're all driving back from the con. It was like 2 in the mountains in the morning, if I can speak correctly. 2 in the morning in the mountains. My brain is still in the mountains, it appears, late in the afternoon. This is the problem. If you draw, you become mentally disabled by the end of the day. Your brain is spaghettified, and you're like, what are words? Please help me speak. We're keeping each other awake, just bitching about Hollywood, and I was just tired of just remakes, and I was like, stop making remakes. If you're gonna remake something, do something different to at least try and breathe some new life into it. And I said, like, who needs to see Dukes of Hazzard 7? Why don't you just make a new Dukes of Hazzard, but have Bigfoot driving the fucking car?
Yep.
There people
Here
tune
you
in.
go.
And and we're all laughing what the world would be like where Bigfoot actually stars in the Dukes of Hazzard. And he's a theater screenwriter and screenplay writer, so we're bouncing all the stuff around. We keep each other awake. Claire was there actually too, sleeping in the back of the car.
Yeah.
Anyways, like 6 months later, I ran into him again. I was like, I can't stop thinking about this Moonshine Bigfoot that we came up with, and he said he liked it too. So Mike Rach and I are working on a big opus, blah blah blah. That's going to be my next quote unquote book, but it's long and arduous. So I wanted to just take a break and do something fun. As a guest at C2E2, everything seemed to come together, and so I just we decided to do it. I didn't want to do it by myself. Sorry, my phone keeps going off. So I just gotten back from Africa, AfricaCon, with a group of artists, painters, comic book artists. Steve Ellis was there. We hit it off. He said he wanted to get back into comics. He hadn't drawn. He used to draw Lobo and all this stuff like that back in the day. So I just said, do you want to pencil this? And I'll ink it. Me and this guy are writing it. We'll bring Nelson Daniel into color, who, he's the best on earth in my opinion. So it took a while because Steve and I are so effing different. He's straight up a cartoonist, and I'm, as he said or noticed, I'm very European in my style. I kind of grew up in Europe. I have a dense style. It's storytelling heavy, where Steve's all about like, get this shit out and let's make it look fun and cool and stuff like that. He's some of the best of the 90s mixed with a little Jack Davis. So it took a while for us to kind of clunk our styles together. But I'm wrapping up the third issue right now,
Nice.
literally on my board. It is off the charts. It is one of the best. It's the best comic I've done since probably issue 5 of Wild Blue Yonder. Really happy now. It's taken a while. These are big, hard books. And this project took a life on its own. It was just going to be a satire book, but the goddamn story got in the way. And now we're really working. I'm really happy with the story. We think we've created a really neat and unique world that, I think it's comparable, not like, and it's not going to have the success of TMNT, but what I mean by that is they're just kind of off the wall take of Daredevil satire turned into, one of the coolest IPs ever made. TMNT. Yeah. How the hell do you come up with it? Yeah. It's because they were lovingly poking fun at Daredevil, and that's kind of what we're doing on Moonshine Bigfoot. We're lovingly making fun. We're satirizing all the things I loved as a child. If you transport to 1981, I was watching the first wave of anime. So you had, and it was right before Robotech, but you had several things before that, including Speed Racer, Battle of the Planets, which was Gatchaman, which I just did a cover for that. That was pretty cool. Another check. My bedpost is getting deep now, folks. I'm going to have to get a bigger bedpost.
Yeah, really.
Do
you remember Superbook? Like,
what now?
So Superbook was an anime that was like around that time, but it was like Christian themed. So it's like there's these two kids with a robot, and they would go back in time and like talk to Jesus.
Oh,
and it was on Sundays, and I'm like, this is an anime.
Yeah, wow. I've never heard of that. That's tremendous. But to digress, all those things. But you also had TV shows like the Dukes of Hazzard. I knew nothing about the turmoil and the terrible history behind the Dixie flag. I was just rooting for the good old boys to get away from Boss Hogg and the cops.
That's what it's about.
And there's a certain beauty in that when you can detach yourself from geopolitical struggles and all the heaviness of life. And that's not to say you disregard that. what I'm saying is it's nice. I miss things that just entertained, you know, and that's what we're trying to do with Bigfoot. So we don't though we're satirizing all these things from the time, we're probably going to see BJ and the bear drive off a cliff and explode. We're going to do things like that in our book. You know, you've seen issue 1, you've seen the speakeasy that they party.
Oh my God!
So,
yeah, Eric was
tattoo from Fantasy Islands in there with Clyde, the orangutan.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
So
damn,
we have fun with all these things and characters from around that time, those ideas around there. Reagan's probably going to end up being a mechanized robot that was like a Chuck E. Cheese escaped robot that's been recommissioned like the $6 million man into Ronald Reagan. We attack a lot of things like this, heavy subject matter. So, but at the core of it, the reason why we built all this and we've had so much fun, and over the last year and a half, we have ground ourselves to a pulp, is we think we've had TV animation interest, all these things like that, and how, I mean, well over, I don't even know how many people are backing right now. It's in the 300s with Backer Kit. We're doing really well on Kickstarter.
Yep.
And I think and at cons, you just see people really are into Moonshine Bigfoot. Image just got the first 2 issues from me so they can do PR. I didn't ask them to, but that's going to be their flagship book that they show for the new independent kick-ass books that they have for this coming up new previews. So there's something about it.
Your IP?
What now?
Are they going to pick up your IP then?
Well, Image is publishing Moonshine Bigfoot.
Good. Okay.
Okay, but they don't own. Image doesn't own any IP.
No, they don't own anything. Yeah, it's
So. No, I mean, I own it. I'm publishing it with Syzygy Publishing, which is Chris Rowell, a guy who I did Shaun of the Dead with. Him and Ash Wood have a tiny little publishing company. Basically, we're just publishing it through Image.
Nice.
And they've been very good to us. My first comic book series, and now they're doing, I don't know, Meteor May Hit. It's my last. There we go, Swan Song. So, but it kind of turned...
a horse.
Excuse me?
At least you didn't die a horse.
Correct.
I'm just gonna keep hitting that one.
Callback's good, brother. So it just kind of we went from it just being a gag, like his girlfriend was gonna be a stripper and we're just gonna make gags all the time. But of course, like I said, I'm a story freak. So we turned it into, I mean, it's a really good story. I'm really proud of that. It's a love story coming of age between these 2 characters, Amethyst and Bigfoot, and it becomes better every issue. And the flip side of the coin between Bigfoot and Thaddeus, it just get deeper and more fun. You get to find out what happens to the sheriff. I'm actually drawing it right now. For issue.
Yeah, I was kind of curious. I was hoping it was coming up on a second issue, but I guess it's not now. So you kind of ruined that one for me. But okay.
Well, no, you get issue 2 is up on the server link I gave you guys.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now you have to you get to see the sheriff in that 1 page. Well, no, 2 pages actually. So you'll have fun how he his fate, but. That being said, we came up with a great story, we think, and each issue's long. I mean, it's 32 pages of content. The first issue's like 29 or 28 or 29 pages, and we're not ripping people off. We're giving them the most beautiful, long comic book you can possibly get. I'm happy for everybody's patience. There's been some struggles in life. I got sick, and then my wife got in a bad accident, and I was in the hospital for a while, and then just life happens. And luckily, fans have been very good to us, and now we're finally, in the back third of this book, and it's looking. Issue 3 is easily one of the most beautiful things I've ever worked on. I think Steve Ellis is doing the best work of his life. Script's basically writing itself now. And I said, we're already getting interest for animated TV show. You never know with that stuff, but with how something else is happening on the multimedia end for me right now, and once I can announce that, if Moonshine hits well in the comic book, hopefully we can land it as an animated TV show and really make this a fun IP. I mean, hell, we're
we'll see an action figure. Maybe
people have like asked. I got a fan that's making. He makes 3D models just as a fan. He's like just a professional animator, and he sent them to me, and they're pretty cool. So who knows? We got mold makers that have offered things. The thing is money, of course. So if things start getting hot, of course we'd love to see some resin figures and some
Moonshine Bigfoot, and we've got its Rat Fink style. You know?
Rat Fink, man. We are old.
Yeah.
When I was in Germany on AFN, Armed Forces Network Television.
Oh yeah.
Rap. In the mornings for cartoon, you'd see 50s racist Popeye cartoons that are black and white. It'd be like Popeye like punching Japanese soldiers while making like racist faces at them and stuff. And then the other thing was Rat Fink. So sorry, it's a long story to get to. I was force-fed Rat Fink as a kid.
Well, if you're looking to check Popeye off your list, Popeye is now public domain as he appeared in, was it 1929? So.
Oh, well, he can be as racist as you want him to be now.
I think he got over that in the 80s. So.
He did. He came around like your grandfather. He kind of...
Robin Williams got a...
Yeah, by the time he started making it a musical, it's hard to be a hate musical.
Yeah.
That would be hard to sustain. So...
Yeah. Hate musical. Wow, that sounds like...
Oklahoma, now with 90% more hate. Oklahoma. Sinister.
Oh my God, that's so great.
But yeah, it's going really well. I mean, I couldn't be happier. I'd be happier if the thing was finished. But we're really moving fast. Not fast. It's me. It's a Zach Howard production. But we're moving on full throttle right now, and we're very happy. It's. I wish I could show you more. I can't. But
all good.
It's coming. I'm not officially allowed to say when it drops, but Image is about to say April 16th. But oops. It'll officially announce here soon. And then it's monthly, and hopefully I'm not late on the last issue. But everything's fun. Wait till you get to issue 3. It's one of the coolest books I've ever drawn. Ever.
I know, Eric, you were talking about it earlier. You got any questions for him for that speakeasy area?
Everybody's going to be talking about the speakeasy.
Uncle Pineapples?
Yeah, especially when it comes to pineapples. So, a couple questions that, we go through is because me and Justin have this feud thing that we got going on.
You guys scissor it out?
No, it's like this.
Oh, I thought you were scissoring your fingers there for a minute.
Well, my hands got stuck. So
I was going to say, this is a cool relationship.
So, pizza. You like pizza? Are you a pizza?
Love pizza.
Okay, love pizza.
It's my poison, man.
I already know the answer to this, and I already told him this. And I was like, the book already gave me the answer. I'm going to ask it anyways. Do you like pineapple on pizza?
No, I think it's a crime against humanity.
Wow. Okay.
Whoa,
my sister eats it. Yeah, I'm a vegetarian, so I'm pretty boring. So I'm a mushroom spinach guy, man. So even on my pizza, I'm boring and healthy. But no. Excuse me?
That sounds awesome. I like that mix, mushroom and
throw green peppers on there too. It's divine. It's the closest thing you get to heaven. It's just you and the gods. It's your own Bukowski pizza moment. I
like a nice margarita pizza every once in a while too. Like
it's a good one too, especially if something to dip it in or something. I don't know. Well, let's get pizza crazy. So I take it you like pineapple on your pizza?
I do, yeah.
You do? Okay. Eric, you're safe.
Yes, I am safe. Like,
why do you want a watery fruit on your pizza?
I was telling them I've had it before where they actually will char it on a grill and then they'll put it on the pizza like that, and I'm like, that's really good. But to mix it with something that's savory like a pepperoni. And maybe jalapenos, but if you like dice up the jalapenos instead of having the rings, it's pretty tasty. But
Okay.
I've had it a couple different ways. I've had it with like Thai chili sauce, and it was all right. It's just
Do you ever eat pizza flavored pizza?
yeah. Like I said, I like the margarita, but my
Yeah.
go-to is mushrooms. So mushrooms and
Yeah,
pepperoni.
mushrooms are the jam, right?
Yeah, mushrooms are like on pizza. It's the best thing you could put on a pizza.
Do damn near anything with a mushroom. I love it.
Yeah,
So,
no, I'm with you.
hey, and that's as you know, an important part of our book. So you'll
Yeah.
find out in issue 2, especially. So there's a hell of a scene in there with a mushroom. So when you guys get to it, but yeah, pizzas. I don't have. I'm a man of many weaknesses that I try to absolve every day. However, and I'm pretty good at being healthy for the most part, but pizza is my absolute downfall. I cannot
Kryptonite,
resist
huh?
pizza.
Is that your kryptonite?
Yeah, pizza. It's my one thing. You know, it's
I wish I was eating pizza tonight. I don't know what we're having, but
I had pizza the other night. I think of pizza. I dream of pizza. But yeah, so I guess I have that in common with the turtles. With ninja-like sewer dwellers and I both like pizza.
I'll have to find a recipe that has spinach and
Mushrooms.
mushrooms on it for our episode, because we do include a pizza recipe on every.
Artichoke is a secret ingredient too in that little mix.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, so
I like when you talk about grilled vegetables on a pizza. Hi, this is Pizza Talk with Zach Howard.
It's kind of half that. Like we do pizza time, which is just so like we break up the monotony of the show, and at the end we do that. So and usually that's what I'll have, something special. Like maybe it'll be like when we had our Stephen King, the artist, not the writer, on, and he was talking about the
That's a
pepperoni
suck name, man. He needs to go
he's
get
the
his
coolest
parents
dude you
in
ever
the-
met.
He is
the theater
absolutely
regions.
awesome, man.
He's the
I'm
coolest
sure he is, but
Yeah.
damn, man.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, he gets
hi,
a-
I'm Michael Jordan. This is my friend Stephen King.
He could have been Michael Bolton. So
Well, yes, but made
his
for
name
great
is
movie time.
Michael Bolton. Yeah.
So,
So let's go back quick to Bigfoot before I let you go. What kind of car
Certainly.
does he drive specifically?
So he drives a hybrid. It's a little bit custom for all those musclehead dorks out there. It's kind of a 70s, 71, mostly 71 Mach 1 Mustang from Ford. So all souped up, got a nice blower on it, and there's nothing he can't do with it, right?
That's what I was going to ask, because it seems like he's just so incredibly ahead of everybody else. Like he's got his own in-town rival, then he's got the police that are chasing him, and then he's got the Bigfoot chasers.
Oh, the ABFAC.
Oh,
So ABFAC, trust me, everybody's going to be a fan of ABFAC. Yeah, so they're the Bigfoot hunters. The sheriff, because the sheriff has to be obsessed with catching him and not doing anything else police work related in the town.
Does he know where he lives?
The sheriff does not.
He doesn't. Okay,
So,
I didn't think so. So
the town, he grew up there. Obviously, he has the Superman beginning. I can say that because the first 4 pages will be in previews. So he has the Moses / Superman origins all-star first pager. He grows up in that town. Basically, it's so rural and backwoods, they can get away with it. The few people that know don't care. He's just a friend in the local yokel circle, and that's part of the why we put a speakeasy in there, because it's a secretive culture, and they can get away with all the stuff that's happening in, it's Moe's Tavern times 1,000. It's like Studio 54 meets Moe's Tavern from Simpsons, and as you see in it, and you get to see it again in issue 3. There's a hell of a scene. And by the way, people that don't know, we try to make the Kickstarters fun, as you said. There's people that paid to be in the book.
I figured that, because I'm like, this is too specific of a person, in the speakeasy, where it's got to be like a fan or someone.
Bartender paid to be the bartender, and this is how comics are made nowadays. So I don't have to, sell part of my book to an investor or to a company. Even worse, I I let people be in the comic book. So somebody
That's
paid to
awesome.
have a speaking role in the book. The guy that drinks the moonshine, that's a guy that paid to be in it. The guy has his hand on his shoulder. Steve Ellis is behind him. There's a slee sack in that issue, I think, is in
I
the
did see the
background.
slee stack, yes. Yeah.
And things like that. Mac and Me from Mac and Me, and Mac from Mac and Me is in there, by the way. The worst character ever. But he has to be in a comic book. I never thought I'd draw a comic book with Mac and Me, but I did. But what we're trying to show is that this is kind of a wild, fantastical society, but in the deep South, people just keep to themselves. They're not going to tell the cops nothing. And you find out Walter and Bigfoot, grew up together and stuff as backward friends. And so Walter helps out a little bit when he has to. But as you see, something
deputy. So
yeah. So the one person that works at the sheriff's department is Bigfoot's friend, and but we tried to set it up. As you see, there was a special aircraft there that scared everybody at the end. What was that about? And as you'll see with Thaddeus, he's both ridiculous. He has an obsession with Fonzie. And he's heir to the most powerful organization to ever exist in humanity.
Which looks a lot like Cobra, from
So see, we're trying to pull nods to why do they need all this stuff? All the as you see in the final shot of that issue, it's a ridiculous, superfluous base. Why? And that's why they're even trying to show with the bad guys. From back then, they had limitless resources. They could build these superstructures in no amount of time. So we're kind of leaning into those tropes. And I think this whole book is leaning into tropes, to be honest.
Yeah. That's what works for me on it. So that's awesome.
You should be able to identify a lot of things. There's Easter eggs for everybody from a million shows. And if you just like comic books, hell, it's artwork. If I'm a pretty okay artist, Steve Ellis is pretty damn fun. Nelson Daniel's good. I think you'll like the story. It's like nothing you've ever read. I mean, the first issue alone doesn't even read, I think, like most books you've read. And it gets better every issue. It gets more beautiful every issue. We have our little Watchmen page every issue. You have the Chupa adventure happening at the same time. So we're going to have Chupa. A lot happens to Chupa every issue. We play with that. In fact, we have a Sonic coming up with Chupa, which I'll be drawing at the end of this issue.
A Sonic? Okay.
Yeah. So we got a Playboy interview with Uncle Pineapple from 1978. Which will be the back matter of issue 3.
Oh my god!
I really like.
You're going to find out a lot about Uncle Pineapple. So, what's up there?
So the first thing that popped in my head when the Chupa cover was with the apple pie. I was thinking of the old cartoons and how the steam.
Looney Tunes. This is ode to Looney Tunes.
Up and it brought him over to the rhubarb pie and was like, and then, wow.
Yeah, you even see. I think I saw a Putty Tat, Sylvester and Tweety in the background. So
there was also Big Bird.
Well, you do see Big Bird. He had a bad day, it appears.
Yeah, very bad day.
Only one bad day, though.
You can look at that page probably for a little while. There's a lot of stuff in there.
There is a lot.
That is an amazing page.
Betting over gambling with dead Smurfs during a penguin knife fight. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Everyone around that table paid to be in there, including the guy with his kid. He specifically wanted to be at the knife fight.
Oh, so wow.
And you see everybody again in issue 3. So everybody gets to be in it several times. And something happens at the speakeasy in issue 3. So
man, that's fantastic. I had the Kickstarter page up and all that. We were just looking at this. So is this Kickstarter still going? Can people still get in on this?
The backer kit, just go to the Kickstarter page. It just says a link. You can pre-order. You can still pre-order pretty much everything, but the main thing is all 4 issues signed by the entire crew, including Nelson Daniel and effing Chile. So it'll be the only time outside of the time I flew to Chile and did a tour there that people will have books where Nelson Daniel and I signed them together. And we did everything. The Cape, Blue Yonder, like I said, G.I. Joe, shit. We did literally every book since 2009 together, except for Hellboy. He still wanted Dave Stewart on that. Mike did, which is fine. It's his book. I get it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Still, I mean, it's been awesome getting to talk to you, to get to like go through all of this. We didn't even touch on Wild Blue Yonder, like, and I mean, there's so much more that we could go into.
Book. Well, come back. How about when the book lands on when Image announces on that fateful day? That may have slipped.
After the Ides of the month.
Yeah, so let's schedule another one of these. Have some fun. I'll show you guys some Easter eggs and some previews for the rest of the series.
I have your Instagram here, which is spacefriend_Z, and then we have ZachHoward.com. Is that the best way for folks to check out?
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram. I get back most days. ZachHoward.com. There's a link there if you want to message me. You can just send me an email. That's my professional email. So, mostly. I mean, I'm not good at the social medias. I get very bored with them. I don't have the patience for it. So it's probably pretty embarrassing showing if you show up. However, I do post, like today, I posted a sneak of Moonshine Bigfoot fighting a bad guy that you don't know about yet.
Ooh.
Or do you? Or do you, Justin?
Yeah, I might.
So I'd be happy to come back. We can shoot the beans. I won't be 15 minutes late this time.
Oh, you're all good. Thanks for joining us. Everyone's listening. It's been a wonderful journey here with artist Zach Howard. We got Eric here. Stay tuned for your pizza recipe of the day, everyone.
I had artichokes.